The aroma of second chances. Lila Carson spent her days in a grey cubicle, typing reports for a marketing job that felt like a worn-out sweater. Comfortable but lifeless. Every morning, she passed a sunlit storefront with a "For Rent" sign, its glass windows dusty and empty. Since she was 15, when she'd first roasted coffee beans in her grandfather's rusty iron pan, she'd dreamed of owning a cafe. But student loans and the fear of failure had convinced her that 32 was too old to start over. One rainy Tuesday, her friend Luna stormed into her apartment, waving a flyer for the harvest market. "You've been talking about this since college," Luna said, tapping the flyer. "Just a tiny booth. What if it's amazing? What if it's terrible? At least you'll know." Lila stared at the photo of vendors on the flyer. Bright tents, steaming mugs, laughter. Her grandfather's old espresso machine sat in her closet, wrapped in a moth-eaten blanket. What if it sputters like a dying car? She wondered. But Luna's grin was contagious, and Lila nodded, her heart fluttering slightly. The night before the market, Lila dragged the espresso machine into the kitchen. Its metal surface was cold, but when she plugged it in, the green light flickered on, stubborn and hopeful. She roasted Colombian beans, their crackle like tiny fireworks, and remembered Grandpa's voice. "Coffee doesn't care about timelines, Lila. It just wants to be loved." At the market, her booth was small, but the moment she pulled the first shot of espresso, the air filled with caramel and chocolate. A silver-haired man paused, his breath catching. "My wife, Eleanor, used to make espresso like this," he said, tracing the rim of his cup. "She died 3 years ago, and I haven't touched the stuff since. But it's like she's here, telling me to smile again." Lila handed him the cup, her eyes stinging. This was why she'd kept the dream buried, afraid it would hurt too much if it failed. But in that moment, it felt like healing. By noon, people queued for her lavender lattes and spiced mochas. A young mom balanced a baby on her hip, sipping coffee and sighing. "This is the first thing that's felt mine in years." A teenager scribbled her name on a napkin, saying, "I want to work here someday. You look happy." Lila realized happiness wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, even late. That evening, Luna helped her pack up. "See, the world needed your coffee," she said, nudging the espresso machine. "So what if you're not 25? Better late than never, right?" Lila looked at the machine, now speckled with coffee grounds, and smiled. Weeks later, Lila unlocked the door to her new cafe, Lila's Latte and Tales. The espresso machine hummed in the corner, and the walls displayed photos. The silver-haired man laughing with his daughter, the young mom jotting notes in a notebook, the teenager practicing latte art. One morning, the man returned with a gift, a tiny silver spoon, just like his wife's. "Elena would have loved this place," he said. "You taught me it's never too late to start over." Now, when Lila brews coffee, she thinks of Grandpa and all the laters that became nows. The cafe isn't perfect. Sometimes the milk burns or the Wi-Fi crashes. But it's hers, filled with stories and steam and the scent of second chances. And that, she realizes, is more than enough.
Let's learn some words from the story. Cubicle, a small partitioned area in an office, typically for one person. Example, Lila felt trapped in her grey cubicle, dreaming of a more vibrant life. Contagious, likely to spread to others, often referring to emotions or enthusiasm. Example, Luna's grin was so contagious that Lila couldn't help but feel hopeful. Sputter, to make a series of short explosive sounds, often when starting or failing. Example, the old espresso machine sputtered to life, but it eventually worked perfectly. Sting, a sharp, sudden feeling of emotion. Here, tears or sadness. Example, Lila's eyes stung when she heard the man's story about his wife. Jotting, writing something quickly or briefly. Example, the young mom was jotting notes in her notebook while sipping coffee.